Jesus said, "I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." Growing up in a Pentecostal church, I had a number of childlike questions regarding Christianity, many of which I never vocalized because I knew I'd be told I had unbelief, or at best, I'd be given a pat answer that God is God and His ways are not our ways. I've realized Jesus was right. We really should look at Christian doctrine as a child. Here's some questions I had as a child and teenager growing up in church. If God knew man would turn evil, why did He make us in the first place? Is it just a case of God creating billions of people and then simply cutting His losses, since most of them would end up in hell? Is that the actions of a compassionate, loving God? If God can do anything, why did Jesus have to die? Couldn't God think up some other way for people to be saved? I was told as a kid that God can do anything, so couldn't He magically make it okay for people to freely come to Him? Surely sending Himself to have Himself killed to satisfy His own sacrifice requirements is a bit convoluted and weird. Following on from that, if Jesus was God, why should anyone care that He suffered and died, since He's all-powerful and can just come back to life again? Wouldn't it mean a whole lot more if, for instance, God asked a normal human prophet like Isaiah to sacrifice himself, and that through his sacrifice He would save the world? It seems to me that God sending Himself to sacrifice Himself is kind of cheating. I mean, if I sacrifice an animal and the animal comes right back to life, it's not really a sacrifice, is it? Not in the true sense of the word. It's not like I'm really going to mourn the loss of a sheep that can't die. Why is it that when I pray to God, nothing happens? As a kid, this disappointed me. You grow up hearing how Jesus loved children and how He yelled at His disciples if they tried to stop children running up to Him. And yet, whenever my parents prayed for me after hurting myself or after having a nightmare, nothing happened. Jesus didn't help me. Of course, it must not have been His will, or maybe I didn't have enough faith, right? But wait, didn't Jesus clearly say, "You may ask me for anything in my name and I will do it"? And all things for which you pray and ask, believe that you have received them and they shall be granted you. As a child, I'm going to have the most faith I will ever have in my life, especially with such clear promises from Jesus. Yet still no miracles. There's nothing like broken promises to harm a child's spirit. What about all the people in the Old Testament? Since they didn't have Jesus, does that mean they went to hell? Christians have a couple theories for this one, but there's no clear explanation in the Bible of what happened to everyone who died before Christ. Did God allow thousands of years to go by with no plan to save anyone that wasn't Jewish? This goes back to my first question about God allowing all these people to die in order just to save a handful. If God was all-knowing, why not make a plan of redemption for everyone right from the beginning to give us all a chance of survival? Why did Mary and Joseph get confused when boy Jesus said He had to be about His Father's business? Didn't they know He was the Son of God? ProfMTH did a great little clip on this one. I've placed a link in the video description. The story of 12-year-old Jesus hanging around at the temple was something I found strange as a kid. Mary is ticked off because she can't find Him, and when she does, Jesus says, "Don't you know I must be about my Father's business?" But Mary, the chosen vessel to carry God's only Son, hasn't got a clue what Jesus is talking about. Watch ProfMTH's humorous video regarding this story. Similar to the strangeness of this story is the actions of Christ's bumbling disciples, who frequently seem clueless as to who Christ was or what Christ was talking about. Why do angels and demons fight if they can't die? I remember pondering this as a teenager. If spiritual beings are immortal, what's the point of angels fighting demons? Do they follow some kind of rules of engagement? Perhaps like a game of dodgeball? A demon gets hit, so he has to sit on the sidelines till the next game? What am I saying? Really, if God is all-powerful, he can just make the demons disappear, right? Or at least render them powerless. Why did Jesus rise from the dead, but not really? Is appearing and disappearing in front of a few people the same as bodily rising from the dead, showing yourself to your killers to prove you're alive, and then continuing your earthly ministry to the astonishment of the Pharisees? Wouldn't that be better proof you rose from the dead? I remember reading the Gospels in full for the first time as a teenager and being disappointed with Christ's resurrection. As a kid, I was indoctrinated with this fantasy that Christ rose from the dead and proved to everybody that he really was the Son of God and that there was no way people could deny it. But my delusion was shattered after finding out that his post-death appearances were more similar to visions and angel visitations than they were truly the actions of a human that had risen from the dead. Why is it the only people that seemed to see him were pro-Jesus, so to speak? Yes, Paul writes later in 1 Corinthians that Jesus appeared to 500 others, but even that scripture states that it was brethren he appeared to, not people who didn't believe in him. Somewhat convenient, don't you think? In the end, I believe Jesus was right about coming to God as a child. If only I heeded his advice. Instead, as I grew up, I let my adult mind cloud my basic questions. I continued to make more and more excuses for doctrinal problems, and trained myself not to question these subjects because I would open myself up to unbelief. If only I had listened to Jesus, I might have studied my way out of Christianity a whole lot earlier. I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching.